Hey guys, Scott from Diversified Acres. We just hit the mother load. So my guy at our food pantry called me today and said had a pretty good sized load stuff to pick up, expired meats and some lettuce that had come in that had been refrigerated, and then the truck broke down and the refrigerator went out and they had a bunch of lettuce. All these boxes are plumb full of lettuce. Five bags in each. I don't know. Let's just pull one out and see what it looks like. There it is. I don't know. It's quite a bit of lettuce. Amber's just out running around feeding them all right now, and they're tickled to death with it. And the chickens are loving it. Then he had about 300 pounds of meat here that was also the same case. That's 4.5 pounds of beef, ground beef, lean ground beef. What we're doing with those is taking the package off of them and cooking them. Put a fire into the barrel, cook them up, serve it hot. Got Kayla out here, she's taking the packages apart, trying to take the plastic off of them. But there's a little bit of everything in here. This is at least probably a good week and a half's worth of feed. With the temperatures like they are, we'll be able to get at least a week and a half of food for them. So they'll be tickled at that. Oh, the girls are gonna love this. Mama just fed the chickens some of that lettuce and some of the bread. There's a whole real big tote full of bread. Buns and bagels and all that kind of stuff, but they're chomping that up. So in the last 2 weeks, we've gotten this truck full to the top with pumpkins, and now pretty much full with vegetables and some meat too. It's not anything edible for us in there, but there's definitely plenty for the hogs and the chickens. Once we heat it up and cook it in this barrel, and I'll chop up some pumpkins and throw that in there, and then I'll chop up or put some of that lettuce in there. And there was a bunch of spinach in one of them totes and some turnip greens. So we'll fix up a stew for the pigs, and they'll like it. and we'll love it. It cost us nothing. Just a little gas money, a little bit of our time, and we'll eat it later after it's been processed through the pigs and the chickens. Well, it's cooking. We got lettuce, turnips, a mixed lettuce with carrots, cabbage. We got cucumbers, pineapples. There's some different sorts of pumpkins and gourds mixed all together. Some hamburger, steak, several bones. And we're going to cook it up. We're going to make some stew for the piggies. We did get all this emptied out. We've got a 55-gallon drum full of lettuce, chopped lettuce. And then we have this 30-gallon tote full of chopped lettuce and cabbage and carrots. And we've got this other 55-gallon full of lettuce. So we are pretty much done, other than cooking it. We're going to cook all this down about, I don't know, 4 hours. But we'll cook it, and then we'll just let it simmer overnight. And this will be breakfast. Breakfast for the champions. Well, you can see we've got a pretty good fire going now around this barrel. It's hard to see the barrel with the, there you can see it. But I put a lid on top of it there. Pretty good sized lid, but it's holding the heat inside the barrel. It was starting to come to a boil, and I put that lid on top there, so it should really pick up temperature now and go ahead and boil out. We'll boil this for about 4 hours tonight, and then it'll just basically turn everything to mush and water, and we'll scoop it out tomorrow with a ladle and feed them a good warm breakfast. They'll definitely be pleased with it. It's such a blessing to be able to have a source like this for additional feed for our hogs and for the chickens as well. They love it. It don't cost us anything but our time to go pick it up, which is about 5 miles from here, and it's always something different. You know, it might be that, like today, it was the lettuce and vegetables and such. It was fruits not too long ago, and corn. A lot of sweet corn. After it starts to shrivel on them, they just throw it in a box, and we come and pick it up a couple times a week. So it's a true blessing to have that as a resource. And I encourage you all. What we did is we donated a hog to our Kentucky Harvest and to the Bread for Life food bank. And when we went up and talked to them about the donation to it, you know, they were at that time they didn't have anybody taking their stuff, and it was just fermenting in a tank outside that they come and picked up ever so often, and I agreed to take it, and they were definitely pleased with that. So they saved money having to have it hauled away, and it fed, you know, and it feeds us, and they do real good. Typically they'll have it in these plastic totes like this right here, just the regular vegetables and such, and they'll have the tops on them, and they'll be sitting right outside the door, and they'll tell us to, you know, they'll send me a text or call me and say, hey, we've got just a couple totes, or we've got a truckload, you know, and we'll go pick it up. And sometimes some of the stuff is packaged into package containers, and we have to remove the packaging for it, but that don't take very long, just a few minutes and a knife. Usually it comes off pretty well, and we separate it out, but typically they'll do their best to keep those items separate from the other items that is just raw vegetables and such. so it's not like we have to dig through there. In the very beginning, they were just throwing it all in one tote, and I asked them how much trouble it would be for them to do it separately, and they said, not at all, we'll do it. So they picked up some of the labor, and we picked up the rest, so it works good for both of us, and I encourage y'all to check into your local food banks and your things of that nature, and see if you can't come across a deal the same. And man, it makes a world of difference on feeding cost, and your livestock will just absolutely. Well, we got it fired back up this morning. Cooled down a little more than what I expected overnight, but it cooked up well last night. I kept that fire going for probably about 4 hours, and looks tremendously different this morning. It's just all falling apart, just completely falling apart. There's about a inch thick, maybe an inch and a half thick sheen of grease on top from the hamburger meat that was on the bottom of there, and the steaks, and the other liquids that had joined together, and I guess the other oils maybe from the vegetables, the pumpkins and so on, come to the top. And that is a real fire hazard. I stuck my shovel in there to mix it in real good and make sure it wasn't stuck to the bottom and everything, and pulled it back out and went to push the wood that I'd started the fire with up underneath of the barrel. After it got going, my shovel caught on fire. The metal part. So be careful with that oil that's on top there. Well, there's the first candidate getting the slop. She doesn't seem to be enjoying it at all. Getting them kale greens out of there. Well, as you can see, Mama number 2 and her little piglets are loving it. Now, it's not real hot. It is warm. It's probably 80 degrees, I guess, the temperature of the liquid. You can stick your hand in it. It's pretty nasty to stick your hand in, but it's not too hot, so it's not hurting them. And I know I'm going to get some of those who say, well, you're not supposed to feed pigs meat. And all I can say is yes. That is what some might say. But they eat meat. They eat anything that they can get hold of. Whether they're hungry or not, they eat it. And our pigs, they typically are grain fed. This is kind of a treat to them. They do get our scraps, but we don't have a lot of waste, so they don't get a lot of scraps. So when they do get something like this, it's a treat to them. You know, they get their vegetables and grains from the grains that we provide them, and the vegetables that we get from the food bank. And they definitely enjoy it. But when you can cook them up a hot meal and not waste anything that you receive, that is absolutely a true blessing. They enjoy it, and it saves you money. So I haven't heard any of them complain yet. Well, there you have it. It's a little more work feeding slop than it is just graining them. It's a little workout. Takes a lot longer. But of course we had to build the fire back up this morning. We got a little bit of rain late last night, early this morning, and it just put the fire completely out. It was almost muddy, almost wet right there. Even though I had that big lid on there, and it covered most of the fire barrel, it was still, it still got some water down to it. So, but anyway, if you check this video out, I appreciate it. If you like it, even better. If you want to see more, subscribe. We do do have some more stuff coming up. We actually had a doctor visit yesterday morning. Got a little bit of news there, which I'll probably cover in another video. Just to be something to talk about, something to keep in mind and consider, along with the previous video that I had put out about the workers' comp and the what has changed our life, our doomsday, basically. So I have another video that's going to kind of go along with that. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. Give us a thumbs up. We'd appreciate it. Share it and subscribe. Have a blessed day.